Hello, hello. Welcome to Into the Rabbit Hole with me. Hi, my name is Nancy, and this year for the 26-27 school year, I'm going to have a fifth grader and a seventh grader. So, all over on Instagram, which, by the way, side note, if you don't follow me on Instagram and you do like to dabble on Instagram, join me over there because a lot of the stuff that I share here are like deep dives and like flip throughs and stuff like that. But over on Instagram, I share more day in the life, like more real homeschool day in the day life content. Okay. So it's my same username as the one in here, Into the Rabbit Hole with me. So anyway, on Instagram, myself and another group of ladies are sharing our homeschool curriculum picks for the upcoming school year. So I'm going to share that in here and we're going to deep dive into it a little bit and we're going to talk about it. And just know that this is just like the core things, but I'm constantly interweaving things here and there, other things, new things. I am looping them. So none of the stuff that you see are things that just I'm doing every single day because it would just be crazy, But I do loop things and there's a rhyme and reason to it. So I figured doing a YouTube video on it would be the perfect thing for me to do right now. So that way I can like walk you guys through everything. So, but again, I'm really hoping all this stuff ends up working out. And we've already started to use it. We're like 2 months into it and stuff. And so it's working out really great. That doesn't mean that we're going to not end up scrapping some of it because it's just not a good fit. But right now, everything's working out really good. And I think I worked out all the kinks already. So I think that this is probably where we're at. But again, that doesn't mean I'm not going to sprinkle in things here and there from Teachers Pay Teachers or like random book studies and things of that sort. Okay. Let's start with 7th grade. Okay, so going into 7th grade, I purchased the entire Beyond the Page ELA. So all their book studies, and I did it for the grades or for the ages 12 to 14. So I'm going to show you on the back what that consists of. So you can see that they have it broken out into science, social studies, and then like language arts. So the language arts, you have Abigail Adams. You're going to be doing Animal Farm. Einstein Adds a Dimension, Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, Elijah of Buxton, The House of the Scorpion, Watership Down, The Book Thief, To Kill a Mockingbird, Great American Poets. So that is what we have going on. Things are going to get a little dicey when we get To Kill a Mockingbird, because I also have a Memoria Press guide that I purchased, and I actually didn't even notice that they had To Kill a Mockingbird on this one. I was like, which one am I talking about? To Kill a Mockingbird until after I got it. But I had seen everything else and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to fit so perfectly into the period of history that we're learning about. So the period of history so this is all intended to kind of go together. It's supposed to be like interdisciplinary and very cohesive in how they do it. So they started from the time of the American Revolution and it goes basically into World War II. And that's kind of like the period of time if you're doing their social studies. So a lot of the books that they're doing ties in with that period of time. So To Kill a Mockingbird, I also have a Memoria Press guide. So I may be intermixing and mingling the two for us to do, which may be a really good combo. Who knows? So we haven't started these. Because in our moment of history, we're barely in the 1600s. So we still have like 150 years to go before we hit the American Revolution. So I want us to do these in conjunction when we're learning about that period of time in history. So I haven't jumped into the stuff at all yet. So not yet. But once we hit that, probably towards sometime in September or something, you're really going to see these like come into play and stuff. So anyway, and then you're going to see us not do anything with it until we get to the Cold War. So I really want to wait until we tie this into the Cold War period, because I have a guide that I made for my kids and stuff over the Cold War, and we're going to spend a solid month on it. And it is going to be amazing, and I'm so excited for it. And Animal Farm is one of the books. So this is a longer process. We may or may not be done with this by the time his 7th grade year is over. As you can see, just because we're spreading it out a little bit further. So Abigail Adams really is the only thing that we're probably going to get to this year, and we're not going to get to Animal Farm until sometime in the spring. So there's no way that I'm going to be able to finish all of these by the time his school year is over, So anyway, just keep that in mind. So we have the entire ELA from Beyond the Page, but again, it's going to carry over into his 8th grade year. Okay, like I was saying, I do have some guides that we're going to be using from Memoria Press for his 7th grade year. He just finished Tom Sawyer. So we finished that one a week or so ago. And let me tell you something. After having one of their more, older guides versus like the younger guides, like when I get to my youngest, he just completed Heidi. It is very in-depth and it is very rigorous and it is very, I don't want to use the word laborious. It's not laborious. There's just a lot in it, right? So one chapter was correlating to one lesson in the Memoria Press guides. So with Tom Sawyer, if you read that, there's like, I don't even know. Like, I already forgot now. I put it out of my mind. I've been traumatized, but it is like 60 chapters or something like that, depending on what book that you get, what version and stuff like that. So the unabridged, like however they break it down, right? So if you were to spread that out, that would be like a 2-month book study. So we didn't want to do that. And so he did 2 lessons a day in order to get it done in, I think, a 6-week span. I think it was a 5 or 6-week span. So he just finished that. So with these, knowing how they flow and how they go, I want to spread them out. These are definitely not guides that I want to use like back to back. Just the way that we do our homeschool and the way we like our things, it's just going to be something that we have to spread out, So I got To Kill a Mockingbird, and I'm also patting myself on the back for not getting too many of these, just because I got to spread them out a little bit. You know what I mean? So I think about 3 guides from Memoria Press a year is probably a really good sweet spot for us. So again, To Kill a Mockingbird, and out of curiosity, let's see how they do. I mean, yeah, so they have the lesson breakdown too. Do you guys see that? Chapter 1 is going to correlate to one lesson. Chapter 2, chapter 3. So you can see 11 days. So a total of 24 instructional days, plus you usually have essays that you have to write and papers that you have to write and like little things in between that are gonna add into those. So 24 instructional days plus papers and essays that you're writing along the way. So I think there's usually about 3 or 4 essays that you're writing. So see, here's chapter 2. So you're gonna have your cast of characters, things that you have to know, your vocabulary. Here's your Socratic discussion in here. Where's my lesson 2? Oh, here it is. Comprehension questions, Socratic discussions. Okay, so that was for one lesson. So then you have chapter 3, words to know, your vocabulary, comprehension questions, and your Socratic discussions. Okay, and so you can see for every chapter you're gonna have to do like these lessons. But then intermixed in here, let's see if I can find the writing portion in here, because the one Tom Sawyer had about 3 different essays that we had to write for Tom Sawyer, which added to the instructional days. So here you go. You have rhetoric expression over here. And then you have your essay option over here. So now you're writing an essay, responding with a 3 to 5 paragraph essay, including a thesis, a body with supporting body points and stuff, and a conclusion, and with an amplification of the thesis / support. So there's things like that in addition to your regular lessons. So just keep that in mind as you're like trying to figure out like the pacing and stuff. So I have that, and then I have the Hound of Baskervilles. So I have that one, Sherlock Holmes, and then he had the Tom Sawyer one. Oh, and he also has My Side of the Mountain, but we're doing that family style together. We were gifted that book by a friend on Instagram, and so we want to read it together because it came highly recommended. And so I have the guides from Memoria Press, and sometime this year we're going to do it together as a family. But these are the ones just for like my 7th grader that I got. So I got that. And then what else for literature? So you guys know, so we have some Memoria Press guides. We have Beyond the Page. And then he's going to be doing Literature Odyssey, and he's going to be doing the entire series. So they haven't come out with the poetry one yet, but when they come out with the poetry one, I will purchase it and we will continue to like use it. He's about a quarter of the way through it so far, and so far it's really enjoyable and it meshes really well with us. So no complaints there. So Literature Odyssey short stories. So that's the one that we're doing. In addition to that, for our literature, there's also independent novels. Here, let me grab the one that he's doing. Independent books, novels, things like that I have on my list for him to do. And so he gets to pick from a pre-picked pack, you know. So he has like a list of like maybe 20 books, right? And I'll lay them out and I'll be like, pick one, and then he can pick one, and he does this independently in his reading. And right now he's been working his way through George Washington's World, and he's almost done with it. So he's been on this, I think, since March. I think so. March, April, May. No, was it March? It was probably like towards the end of March, beginning of April. So it's been about 3 months for him. And then he has just read this just independently. I set the timer because if I don't set a timer, he'll just continue to read like forever. And then it throws like my whole day off, you know? So I set the timer for him for like 15, 20 minutes. And so after he's done with his day's lesson, he would just finish up doing something like this. And then every now and then I'll have him summarize some of the passages in here so we can touch base, make sure that he's absorbing like the things that he's reading. But I keep this very low key, you know, either he's doing an oral summary for me, or he's doing just like a quick written 2-3 sentence summary on that day's reading, and a combination thereof, you know. Sometimes we do like a fun like project, like the one that he did for Trash. He just finished reading Trash, which was another book, like an independent book that I had selected for him. And we went and tracked all the different themes and selected evidence from the text to support those themes. And we just kind of did that on chart paper. And it was just like a, you know, something different to do, you know? So throughout the year, I definitely plan on continuing that in addition to everything. So that is our literature. Oh no, that is not all my literature. Hold on. Then we also are doing Famous Men of Rome from Memoria Press. And this I loop in. So we take a break from it every now and then we do it. So we do it like maybe 4 weeks on, and then maybe 4 weeks off, and 4 weeks on, 4 weeks off. But my son really likes all things like ancient history, so ancient myths. And he just enjoys it. So he enjoys learning about people from ancient times. And right now we're focusing on Rome. And he'll be done with it sometime this year. But right now we're in the looping out phase. So we will loop it back in probably sometime in August. So that is our literature. Oh, and by the way, he's doing the online videos that go along with it too, but he doesn't do the online videos every single time. Because according to him, sometimes it's just faster for him to like read the passages, you know, than it is for like the videos sometimes to do it. But I honestly think the videos are neat. I think the videos are cool. So he'll do it every now and then, but not all the time. All right. So for writing, our main writing spine is writing with skill level 2. We just finished level 1, like a couple weeks ago. It was like the last 20% of the book, and for some reason it took us forever to get through the last 20%. So we are going to continue with writing with skill from the Well-Trained Mind, level 2. I have a love-hate relationship with writing and rhetoric, okay? But I think a lot of it is the more and more I'm leaning into the classical method of homeschooling, the more we are getting used to the approach and methodology. And so now I look at this with like a whole new perspective, and I appreciate what it's bringing to the table, you know? And so we're giving it a shot. For my for my youngest, my incoming 5th grader, I don't think it's necessarily correct, but I feel like this is our 3rd time trying out writing and rhetoric, but for some reason I just can't like let it go, you know? But this is officially my first time doing writing and rhetoric with my oldest, and I decided to start him at book 6. Even though it has the recommended age or the recommended grades of grades 5 to 6, honestly, I'm not sure if I agree with this grade breakdown recommendation. I honestly almost think that you need to, I think you need to go down. And so like, for instance, if you have a 5th grader, I would suggest book 1, you know what I mean? If I had, for instance, like a seventh grader, like I do now, I would say book 6, even book 5. I just think that the writing portion is really what you're focusing on and how to do the key concepts that they're trying to teach you and stuff. And for whatever reason, I just feel like going down a level when you're doing it, they're absorbing that information easier. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's my take on it. And you know what? I tried, which I'm going to talk about when we get to my 5th grader. I tried this book 1 Fable when my youngest, and he was an advanced reader. And that's why I'm saying I don't think it has anything to do with your reading capability or anything like that. He was an advanced reader. And I started him in 2nd grade for the first time, and it was a horrible flop. Then I did it again towards the end of his 3rd grade year, and we did better, but it was still more of a flop. I have since, I think for the past like 6 months, turned a little bit more classical than eclectic. I'm still very much eclectic, but with a strong focus like on the classical method, such as dictation, narration, like all that kind of stuff, And I think now that we have that under our belt, going and doing book 1, I've noticed a huge difference, because we understand the process a little bit more. Asking him to summarize the narration, the dictation, like all the things, it just gels a little bit more. Also, probably because he's older now and everything, So even if he feels like this is like too easy for him, that's great. I want him to feel like it's too easy and stuff. I want him to be able to grasp the concept rather him going in there and struggling with it. You know what I mean? So if he thinks this is too easy, great. I love that. I'd rather it be too easy. That just means we fly through it a little bit more and then get to number 2 and then so on and so on, So anyway, that's my 2 cents that I totally did not mean to go down into in today's video. But writing and rhetoric, book 6, I've been enjoying it. He's been enjoying it. As much as you can enjoy school things, he's been enjoying it. And then for grammar, we're doing grammar from the well-trained mind, and so far so good. I have been enjoying it. I think I have a whole video flipping through and showing like how to use these and stuff. So go through like the videos and you'll find it. And we're just doing the purple one right now. And it doesn't matter what color that you do. So if you're new to well-trained mind, I think they have the green one, the purple one, maybe a red one, and it does not matter. It is literally the same concept being taught, but different problems, and the same script that you're reading from the teacher's guide. So anyway, so I'm doing that with him, and it's been going fine. No troubles there. We've been enjoying it. We are going at slightly like a slower pace. So we may get this done by the end of his 7th grade year, or we may not, but it doesn't really matter since it's the same information, recycle, repeat over and over again for the rest of time. And they say that this is all you need. Like this is all the grammar that you would need until you graduate from high school. So guess what? It doesn't matter to me then, right? It doesn't matter if we finish this in 1 year or whether 2 years, because it's just rinse and recycle. Then I just switch colors and I go with the light green one. And then we just do the same thing again. It's just additional practice and reinforcement, And then I have the basics of critical thinking. So just like, critical thinking questions, like type workbook and stuff. I feel like I am missing something. Hold on, I'm going to go check. Yeah, I think that's it. Now, I have so many moving pieces, I can very well be wrong, which is why I totally recommend follow me on Instagram, But I think that is it. That is our 7th grade ELA. So we have writing down. I shared what we're going to be doing. Oh, I did not for vocabulary. Hold on. See, I knew I was forgetting something. So for vocabulary, we're doing a mixture of flashcards. Hold on. It's over here too. So we're doing a mixture of like flashcards like this, right? So a mixture of flashcards of different styles from different brands and everything. And then Worldly Wise, grade 7. And for spelling, I'm not really doing anything, to be honest. Like for spelling, I'm just I'll show you what I have. I have like this workbook that every now and then like we dabble in. But to be honest, spelling is not really at the forefront. Like a priority for me like this year. He's a naturally really good speller, and we're picking up a lot of like the spelling stuff as we're writing, and we're doing vocabulary work and all that kind of stuff. But for the most part this year, it's kind of a wash. I'm just like, I'm gonna go with it. Same with vocabulary. I do want explicit vocabulary instruction, but in in preparing for like college preparatory stuff, I'm more interested in things like like absorbing the vocabulary words, root word parts, like that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes any sense. Okay, so that's it for 7th grade ELA. But since I have you guys here, I'm going to merge my video and I'm going to do it with math, because it doesn't make any sense for me to do math as a separate video, because there's not that many interesting things to say about math. It's like one thing. So hold on, let me go grab his math book. Okay, so for math, he has the very first part, semester 1, up in his room. And so I didn't want to go upstairs to go and get it and disrupt his like school area and stuff. So he's doing algebra and he's doing semester 1 and he's doing it from Derek Owens. So I have this textbook and stuff that he's working through. This is for the 2nd semester. He does this all online, submits his paperwork online, his homework and his tests and everything are graded outside. I'm not doing anything. So you guys know, if you follow me on Instagram, that we moved from Thinkwell. There was nothing wrong with Thinkwell. I actually really liked Thinkwell. I just felt that my oldest did perfectly fine. I think he graduated with like a 95 or a 90. No, I think it was 97%. So he got an A in the course. So it wasn't a matter of not being able to keep up, but I have my eye on this kiddo in particular is going to be taking calculus by the time he graduates high school. And so even though he may find that his 6th grade math was fine with Thinkwell, I personally thought that he would benefit better from an instructor that had longer videos that spent more time explaining the concept, you know? And so that's why I switched over to that. But other than that, I mean, Thinkwell was fine and he probably would have done just fine with it. But I just didn't want to encounter any problems when it got to calculus or pre-cal or any of the other higher level maths. You know what I mean? Okay, on to 5th grade. Okay, so my approach for 5th grade is going to be very similar to like my 7th graders. There are a couple units from Memoria Press. He just finished the Heidi one, which he absolutely hated, okay? But it had more to do with the book, I think, and for whatever reason, he just wasn't jiving with the plot, you know, rather than like the guide itself. It's no reflection on the guide, just the book itself, you know? And I think I have one other book study from him, but for the life of me, I just can't find it. But I'm pretty sure I got him another one other than Heidi. And then he has this one that we're going to do together as a family, My Side of the Mountain. I got them each one. We're going to do it as a family. So for literature, Memoria Press guides, we also have the entire ELA program from Beyond the Page. So I got the entire ELA program. So what does that look like? That means that we're doing poetry, The View from Saturday, which is this one, American Tall Tales and Legends, The K, House of Tailors, My Side of the Mountain, The Witch of Blackbird Pond, The Invention of Hugo Cabret, The Ballad of Lucy Whipple, A Wrinkle in Time, and Lincoln. So these are the ones. They're not as dependent on our history portion as like my 7th graders is. So I can do this like in any order if I want to. But of course, if I want to tie it up with what they're also learning about in science and in social studies, then probably around what? Like the early 1800s, mid 1800s, late 1800s immigrations and stuff. But I'm not going to be trying to tie that up with what we're learning about in history, you know, or here, the Revolution, colonization, the Witch of Blackbird Pond, you know what I mean? The westward expansion, the Ballad of Lucy Whipple. I'm not going to try to like intermix them because I don't think it's going to be as not as important, but just it's not as like you can in my 7th graders, it was straight up. You can tell from like the list, it lines up perfectly with that period of time. These, I feel like you can do them in any order and during any period of time. Although ideally, of course, it, you know, the Ballad of Lucy Whipple, obviously better with the westward expansion, or the Witch of Blackbird Pond, obviously would be better during that time frame. But all in all, I think it's fine, you know? So anyway, we're doing that. And then we're also finishing up Torchlight. We started this family style last year. And so this year I'm switching over and we're doing it one-on-one. So this is what I'm going to be doing with my 5th grader, finishing up the books from in here. So there's a lot of like really good books in here. So we did Planet Earth is Blue, The Care and Feeding of a Pet Black Coal. We've done A Girl, a Raccoon, and the Midnight Moon. We've done From the Desk of Zoe Washington. Anna on the Edge, and then anything else that we have like left over. That is the one. Oh, a black hole is, hold on, you're not even in the frame. A black hole is not a hole. We read that one. And so whatever we haven't gotten to, we're going to finish up. I really, really love the depth and the diversity. And when I mean diversity, I just don't mean cultural or ethnic like diversities, but physical diversity, like people with physical handicaps and like things like that. Like I just love the variety and stuff like that. So that is what we have. So for literature, oh, and he also has his own, here, let me show you. He has, in addition to that, he also has his own literature books that he's reading independently. Again, the same thing with him, low output. I just want him to narrate back to me and every now and then to do a summary. But I like to switch it up book to book. So for instance, he's finishing up book 2 from Tales from the Odyssey. And what we have is, I have him doing problem and solutions. You know, our main thing is, what was the most important decision someone made in today's reading? And just by looking at that, it's going to tell us a lot of character analysis, cause and effect, and themes, you know? So we're doing that, and then we're keeping track of it on our book. You know, that's it. Sweet and like short and easy. It takes us less than 5 minutes to do, you know? So he reads it and just does a little bit of work for it, in addition to the other things that he's currently doing, you know? So that is his literature portion. And for writing, he is doing writing and rhetoric. Surprise, surprise. He's doing writing and rhetoric. And because this is a little easier for him, a lot, because again, he's older. And so we're able to cycle through it. And also we're a lot more comfortable with the whole classical model with narration, dictation, all that kind of stuff. It's flowing. We put in the hard work for it, and we've hit that, like, we've passed that roadblock, and I feel like we're getting great strides and stuff, you know? So I fully expect to like fly through this, and then we'll go on to book 2, and then book 3 and book 4, and so on and so on. Okay, let me go grab his other stuff. Okay, I am back. All right, so for his other writing that he's doing Writing with Ease level 2. So we're about halfway through it. Sometime this year we'll be done with it, and then we'll probably move on to level 3. And then he also has writing from Curtis Hawk. And if the cover looks familiar, it's because it's the same makers of the Saxon Math, I believe. Yeah, Saxon Math. So this is more structured writing. This is more informational writing, persuasive writing, argumentative writing. It's more of that kind of stuff. So very different from your narration, dictation. You're focusing on listening stamina and focusing and stuff. And then this is on different areas within the writing rubric: how to write a fable, character, setting, plot, story elements, how to amplify, how to condense, like just like things like that. It's all hitting like different things, you know? And we are also doing this. Now I know it's like a lot of writing, I know, but this is something that we do like 5 weeks in a row. And then we stop and table it and put it away, because it can get very monotonous. It can get very routine. It can get a little dreaded and stuff. So I usually do like 4 or 5 weeks on, and then we table it, and then we can come back, do a little bit more and table it. And that's my goal. I'm not really concerned with finishing something in a school year or anything like that. In the end, it's all going to come out in the wash. Like it really is, you know, especially ELA. And I think I talked about this on Instagram. I feel like ELA is one of those things that it's just rinse, repeat, do again every single school year, except you focus. There's a little bit more depth in there, and maybe you learn a few more pieces of terminology, a few more pieces of like how to do literature analysis. But basically it's rinse and repeat, you know? That's my feeling on it, you know? So to me, it doesn't matter to me. We'll finish it whenever it gets finished, especially because we homeschool year round. To me, it's just it's all a big cycle. So anyway, for writing, we have that IEW, we have Writing with Ease, we have our formal writing that we're learning from here, and then everything else from here. So they all hit like different things that we are focusing on. So that is writing. For grammar, I am using this one. So grammar, from the same place, Curtis Hawk and stuff. And this is what it looks like in the inside, if you're wondering. Let me just show you. So you're learning about personal pronouns. You have your scripted lesson in here. What I do like about this is that they incorporate a vocabulary into their grammar. So every single lesson you're learning 2 new words, and then they do ask you questions from it in here. So then you have that, and then you do the workforce. You have bam, bam, all this stuff over here, and all that stuff over here, and over here. The only thing I will say is that oftentimes we do split this up into 2 lessons because it is quite a bit just to do 1 lesson every day. And the way they have this, I believe, is 1 lesson every single day. So let's see, hold on, before I run my mouth. 112 lessons. So yeah, if you divide 112 lessons into what, 30 weeks? Alexa, how much is 112 divided by 30?
112 divided by 30 is approximately 3.7333.
So it's about 4 lessons. Okay, so you do want to do 4 lessons every week in order to finish this in a 30-week period. So that's probably not happening because you saw it is a little long. We do half of it together, and then the other half I'll have them do it independently. And sometimes we do 1 lesson a day. Sometimes I just break it up into 2 different days. It all depends on the vibe for that day. Some days, you can tell. You know what I'm talking about, right? You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Sometimes the vibe is all right. And that's not the hill I want to die on. You know what I mean? Especially not for grammar. Grammar is definitely a rinse and repeat kind of thing all over again every single year. So, if he only feels like doing half a lesson, we'll only do half a lesson. If we can get away with a whole lesson a day, we do a whole lesson. If we've had a very busy day with all these other moving parts and stuff, maybe we just skip grammar entirely, So anyway, spelling, you guys know I have a love-hate relationship with spelling. It was between this or Phonetic Zoo. And so who knows, we're like halfway done with it. And so maybe when we're done, we go back to Phonetic Zoo and do the spelling list B. But again, spelling isn't as in the forefront of my priority list for this school year and stuff. They both are fairly decent spellers and stuff, but of course I want to keep that up, and whenever the opportunity arises, we incorporate it and we discuss the spelling rule, we go over it again. I do think spelling is important, but my priority for this school year is really focusing on writing. So writing, listening stamina, focus and attention, summarizing, doing better dictation, doing better notebook entries, putting what's in your head and being able to discuss it and explain it to someone in a logical way. That's really important to me this year. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on. Also on tech skills and stuff, and doing PowerPoint presentations and doing other things, that we haven't really touched upon that much. So all that stuff. So spelling, if it gets pushed aside a little bit, that's fine. Grammar, we still for the most part do it every single day. But guess what? If we don't get to it that day, we don't get to it that day. I'm going to coin this term, okay? It's a rinse and repeat thing. So when it's a rinse and repeat thing, am I that worried about it? No. Is it important? Of course it's important. But to me, it's kind of other things may be a little bit more important, like writing, Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Now, hold on. Let me go grab his math. Okay, before I go and I grab his math, I wanted to show you guys this workbook that I've really been loving. And I know it says grade 4, but let me grab a dry erase so I can show this to you guys. Plug, by the way, this is from Jack and Link. Jack and Link is my small handmade business where I make fun, dry erase, educational resources. Okay, so end plug. Now, what I wanted to talk about is multiplication. For some reason, and we homeschool year round, so this isn't a matter of us taking a long break and forgetting math, right? But Eureka Math, which I'm going to show you guys in a second, focuses a lot on application of math and conceptual math. So applying math in different ways, but before you can apply math in different ways, really understanding conceptually. And so how do they do that? They use a lot of number bonds. They use a lot of bar charts. They use a lot of number line. They use a lot of these style of methods. But do you know which one they don't use as much? Is the way you and I learned when we were growing up. 346 times 721. For some reason, and we did some of this math, obviously in 4th grade, because they did cover the traditional way of doing math, but for some reason, we are just like deer in the headlights this time, and we've forgotten all the things on how to do it, and so that was not good. So I paused, I paused our math curriculum for a week, and instead we worked from like this workbook. So I'm going to keep on every day. He continues to work from this workbook and just does some of those problems, because I think it's important that he does know like how to do it the traditional way, just not the way that they teach you in the thing. Like, it's important. So for instance, the way that Eureka teaches math is if you have 475 times 77, all right, just to keep it simple. They have a lot of different ways that you can learn how to do this. A lot. Bar graphs, number lines, like a whole bunch of stuff. But the one that my son happens to like the most is this one. So he takes 475, right? And then he'll take the 70 from here and the 7, and then he just multiplies it this way. You know what I mean? That's how he does it. And then you add it all up at the end, and whatever that number is, that's the answer, right? That's his preferred way. That's how he likes to do it. And that's the way they teach you and stuff. And he's really good at it. But this way, we have trouble. So anyway, I'm hoping to fill in the gap that way. And another thing that I want to do is I want to include more just fun math books. So I have like books like this, like zebra stripes and stuff, just fun like math books. And it doesn't have to be like especially difficult for him or anything. I just want to incorporate more picture books on math, something low key, just get us thinking. These brain teasers, like these like puzzles and stuff, you know what I mean? And so we've been enjoying it. Even my 7th grader likes to join us when we do these things, because everybody like gets like a kick out of it and stuff, So we've been doing that. Okay, now on to math. So this year I'm doing something a little bit different. I've always done Eureka math. Eureka is a really great, solid curriculum. Solid. Like solid. Like I couldn't imagine like a better one. And I have tried other math curriculums. I've tried Singapore, the primary, and dimensions. And while they were both good, we got to a certain sticking point in both of those curriculums where the curriculum I felt just wasn't explicit enough. And that made me worried, because I don't want, when I stick with math curriculum, I want to stick with it for the long haul. I don't want to be flip-flopping back and forth with other like math curriculums. So I thought, if I have a sticking point, and I think it was in 1st grade, because the curriculum didn't explain it well enough, I don't want to hit 6th grade, 7th grade math and be doing the same thing and then having an issue. So I decided not to do that. Another one that I think is really good, I gotta just move this stuff, sorry guys. Another one I think is really good is Right Start Math. We tried Right Start Math, and my kids actually both really love it. The only problem with Right Start Math is in our school district and in our state of Pennsylvania, they do a lot of word problems. And Right Start Math, what they do lack is some word problems. And I just didn't, if anything were to happen where we can't homeschool anymore and they have to go back to regular public school, or when we're thinking about standardized tests and stuff like that, it's just one thing I just didn't want to like encounter in the thing. So we ended up not doing that. But for the past 4 years, we've been using Eureka, and Eureka has been really amazing. There's tons of word problems in here. There's tons of bar model graphs and timelines that you have to like work with and stuff. You see that? I really, really like it. It's a free program, by the way. But even if it wasn't free, I would definitely be purchasing it. Like, I like it, Now, you may be asking, like, where is the teacher's guide? So it's a free curriculum, so you can download it into a device and stuff. And so I have mine downloaded into my iPad, and you can see, like, here's the lesson. And you start with like a prep. So this is like, you're just working on math fluency for the first part. And so you're going over concepts. It could be skip counting, multiples of 3 and 30, for instance, multiples of 3, multiples of 30. It can be conversion exercises. It can be working with exponents in here, review and stuff. It can be whatever it is, right? Like, you're just working on fluency in here. What is 4 tens divided by 2 tens? Being able to, instead of saying 400, you're saying or instead of saying 40, oh my gosh, instead of saying 40, you're saying 4 tens. And instead of saying 20, you're saying 2 tens, you know, and then just asking them questions like that. So it's just fluency and stuff. Then you launch into the actual thing that you're going to be doing. So this is like a soft opening, right? So this is a little preview of what we're going to be working on. Here's your problem. And then this area right here is what you're going to be doing. So like, for instance, here, we had to estimate 95 to 19 to come up with the nearest rounded 10 to it. So that way we can easily do our division in here, which is 95 divided by 19. So that way when you divide it the traditional way, after your estimate got you close to where you have to go, and then you can do your math. Does that make sense? Listen, I'm not a math instructor. And like, this is why come 6th grade, I outsourced math. So this will be our last year that we do Eureka math. And then starting in 6th grade, we will be transitioning to a video-based lesson because I am not the best at math. So when I say I need explicit instruction, like I need explicit instruction. I am not the best. Give me ELA any day. Ask me to teach you how to write a paper, how to write a thesis. I know all that stuff. But when it comes to math, you know, I'm not the best. And so I think that if you're stronger in math, then obviously the world's your oyster. You can probably use any math curriculum because you can always be the one to cover down on the math curriculum. With me, I'm just like, I got to Google it. I got to watch a YouTube video if I don't understand something. You know what I mean? I got to learn it myself so I can teach it to you. So this is our final year doing it. But I've done this same exact grade 5 level with my oldest. So it's kind of like me doing the same thing. It's not as bad for me because I remember doing it with my oldest. So a lot of the concepts, like I know what I'm supposed to be teaching, you know? So anyway, I just have it all in here. And then at the end, you have a couple word problems that you might be doing together. Like you do it together and work on it. And then you give them this problem set. And then the answers are all right here. So these are the problems that they're doing. I have the answers immediately afterwards. I can check it and stuff. And that stuff is the stuff that I print out and I put in here. You know, so I do print this out. I don't print out the teacher's guide because I feel like that's a waste. Now let me go back to where I was so I don't forget my spot. Right in here. Okay, so that is what we're doing for math. So this year is a little bit different because I want to introduce some flavor into it, you know? Not that Eureka's dry. It's not dry. It's to the point. It has some interesting games sometimes that it has you do and stuff, but I still wanted to try and integrate some stuff for further reinforcement. And so I am giving Beyond the Page. And again, this is the last year that I'm going to be doing math with the boys, just one-on-one, me and them, you know what I mean? After that, he's going to be moving into his own online math. And my oldest has already moved on and doing his own online math where I'm not the primary instructor. So for this last hurrah, I'm like, you know what? Let's do some stuff. Let's do some fun, like little games and stuff. And let's go and watch some fun, like YouTube videos. And let's play some games. And let's do that kind of stuff. And so, and even the printable looks like fun and more engaging. And I get that, right? So this is just traditional stuff. Excuse me, traditional stuff that you're learning, right? Like not traditional stuff. But you guys know what I mean. This is just like plain Jane, get to the point. We're doing the things. And this is with even the worksheets, like you can see the fonts are a little bit easier. Everything is in black and white. So that hasn't changed from that to Eureka. But it's just a little bit of a change of pace, I guess, you know? So I got the entire unit, like the entire math for 5th grade. So I got the whole entire thing. So we already did place value, millions to thousands. And here's the 4 operations, which is the one we're going to be doing right after we do this. So I'll explain the pacing here in a second. Then measurements, and then it's adding and subtracting fractions, multiplying fractions, geometry, dividing fractions, volume, and then a skills review. Okay, so I got every single one of them. So how do I do this? Well, these modules, they're all divided into this nice, neat chunks, right? So this whole one is doing the 4 operations, right? The next one would be geometry. The next one, adding, subtraction, fractions, measurement. I can very easily combine them with the modules here from Eureka. Eureka has 6 modules. So we're just on module 1 right now. When we're done with module 1, we're going to flip and we're going to go ahead and do this next unit, the 4 operations in here. You know, when we're done with this whole unit, which should take us 26 school days, then we'll flip and we will do Eureka Module 2. Do Module 2, then flip, and then come back here and do Unit 3 measurement. At first, I was trying to put them in order. So like when I'm learning about measurements here, doing measurements here. So at first I was doing that with the very first one, which worked out great so far, you know, but I decided not to do that because to me, in the end, it doesn't really matter, right? So let's say that in Eureka, the next module that we do has to do all with measurements. So then we do that, right? Well, you'll see the next one that we have to do here is going to be the 4 operations, right? So then I come back and I do the next module. And when I come back again, we do measurements. That's great because guess what? Then he has an opportunity to recall all the information that we already learned about here, and he has to go and review it and apply it again. So to me, that's perfectly fine, and that's going to work out better that way. So does that make sense? So in Eureka, let's pretend that I'm doing measurements now. Actually, let's pretend that we're dividing fractions now, okay? We're dividing fractions now. But over here, I'm not going to divide fractions until we get to Unit 7. That's great because he's going to have an opportunity to review all the information that he learned here and apply it again over here. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So that's the way I'm doing it. Let's see if it ends up working out. We'll see. We do homeschool year-round, so I'm not as concerned with making sure that everything gets done in the school year. If it carries over into the summer, I'm okay with that. As long as we do finish it by the time the new school year starts up. That I do want to make sure, you know? But I think we're on a good pacing here and stuff. And if I have to drop something because I noticed that, oh, we're not going to be done by the end of summer, then I'm going to drop this. You know, this is I know this works. It's handy. It's gotten my son to where he is now. So you know what I mean? If I have to drop something, it's not going to be this. But if I have to, and I start to notice that, okay, there's no way we're going to be done with 5th grade math by the time August rolls around, then I'm going to drop this and just focus on this, you know? But so far we're at it on a good pace, a pacing schedule, and so far so good, you know? Okay, guys, that is it. I know there was a lot. We just covered ELA and math, but if you guys have any questions, let me know. If you guys, I don't know, have any recommendations, please don't recommend. Please don't. I have enough, but if you do, let me know. Subscribe if you guys are interested. And I will be back later on this week to share the other things that I highlight and share on Instagram. So this week, we did ELA on Monday. Today's Tuesday, we did math today. And then we still have science, we still have history, and we still have extras and stuff. So I'll be back again one more time, like sharing all the things like that, hopefully. If not in the weekend, and then I will recap and go deeper, just like I'm doing now from what I shared on Instagram. Okay, guys, subscribe. I'll see you guys later. Bye.